Welcome to our exploration of a chilling case that has haunted many, the tragic story of Christy Shawn and Joseph Cadd. A question lingers in the air. What drives a friend to commit such an unspeakable act against an entire family? Have you ever questioned the true nature of your relationships? How well do you really know your friends, colleagues, or neighbors? Often, those we consider friends seem to know us intimately. Yet there are times when individuals feign friendship, gaining our trust only to exploit our vulnerabilities. For many, friendship is a cornerstone of life, a source of support and meaning. However, the desire to help can sometimes unwittingly lead to devastating outcomes. The tragic loss of Christy Shawn and her husband Joseph Cadd in 2015 sent shockwaves through the quiet town of Leicester, North Carolina. This incident became one of the most brutal crimes ever recorded in this small community's history. At the time of their tragic end, the couple was excitedly preparing for the arrival of a new family member. The most horrifying truth was that their assailant was not a stranger, but someone they had welcomed into their lives as a friend. This betrayal cut deeper, as they were not the only victims. The story of Christy Shawn begins in the bustling city of Madrid, Spain, where she was born on September 3, 1976. As the only child of American military parents, her life was marked by constant movement. Her father, a U.S. Air Force soldier, frequently relocated the family, preventing them from settling for long in any one place. Their time in Spain was fleeting, as they soon traveled to various European countries before eventually returning to the United States. Christy began her education in New Orleans, Louisiana, but within a year her family moved again, this time to Texas. The relocations continued, taking them to Illinois and then to Latin American countries. This nomadic lifestyle had its advantages. Christy became fluent in several languages while immersing herself in diverse cultures. Yet, the constant upheaval took its toll during her teenage years, making it difficult for her to establish lasting friendships. Just as she began to find her place, it was time to pack up and move again. Ironically, these frequent transitions honed her social skills, allowing her to connect with people from all walks of life. Christy was known for her sweet disposition, sociability, and charm, which endeared her to many. From a young age, she thrived in sports, participating in gymnastics, swimming, and even kickboxing. After completing her schooling, her father's military career came to an end, and the family settled in Biloxi, Mississippi. Here, Christy finally forged genuine friendships and discovered a newfound passion: cooking. She delighted in experimenting with recipes, creating culinary masterpieces that garnered admiration from family and friends. Her culinary talents were undeniable, and she pursued formal training in the culinary arts. Her parents envisioned a future as a professional chef for their talented daughter, but Christy soon unearthed another passion: acting. With dreams of stardom, this ambitious young woman, brimming with talent, enrolled in an acting academy in Los Angeles. There, a world of opportunities unfolded before her, and she seized each one, determined to make her mark on the entertainment industry. Her culinary creations were nothing short of masterpieces, drawing admiration and accolades from all who tasted them. With a passion ignited, she decided to delve deeper into her culinary pursuits, enrolling in specialized courses. Her parents envisioned a future where she flourished as a professional chef. However, in a surprising twist, she uncovered a hidden talent for acting that would soon change her life. As a rising star in the culinary world and a burgeoning actress, this beautiful and ambitious young woman, overflowing with talent, took a bold step forward. She enrolled in an acting academy and made her way to Los Angeles. There, a world of vast opportunities awaited her, and she skillfully seized each chance to carve out her own legacy. Christy Shawn once graced the screens as an extra and stunt performer, appearing in commercials and theater productions. Among her notable credits was a minor role in the iconic Terminator franchise. Despite her daring spirit, which led her to perform risky stunts, Christy graduated from the academy in 2000 without having secured any significant roles. With striking looks and undeniable talent, she chose to pivot her focus towards her culinary skills and athletic pursuits. Transforming her passions into a thriving enterprise, Christy participated in several popular culinary television shows, gaining recognition and a considerable following. She reached the finals of a season of the Next Food Network star, showcasing her culinary prowess. Though she did not claim victory, her culinary experiments eliciting mixed reviews from the judges, Christy remained undeterred. The attention she garnered was significant, leading to thousands of social media followers eager to witness her journey. Sharing her life and culinary creations, she fervently promoted a healthy lifestyle, offering advice on nutrition and developing exercise routines to help maintain her physical health. A year later, Christy founded a successful catering company that provided banquet services for various events and retailed her carefully prepared culinary products. Her business stood out for its emphasis on healthy and nutritious eating. The menu featured her original recipes, each crafted and perfected with care. Soon she contemplated establishing her own farm, aiming to cultivate healthy and sustainable produce to further enhance her catering venture. Simultaneously, she conducted online courses on nutrition and developed several related projects. In 2012, a pivotal meeting on a television set brought Christy face-to-face with Joseph Timothy Codd, known as JT, a casting director in the entertainment industry. Responsible for selecting participants and actors for various popular projects, their first encounter happened at a studio in Los Angeles during auditions for a culinary show in which Christy wished to participate. An instant connection sparked between them. Joseph, nearly 7 years her senior, was in the midst of a divorce when he encountered Christy. Captivated by her beauty and charm, he quickly began to pursue her affections. Christy welcomed his attentions, and soon their relationship blossomed into romance. Joseph embraced her aspirations, and together they began to dream of their own farm. Before long, the couple made the decision to leave Los Angeles behind, relocating to North Carolina. They sold Christy's flourishing catering business, while Joseph parted with his Hollywood home. With the proceeds from their sales, they invested in a substantial piece of land in Leicester, acquiring a spacious and inviting home alongside nearly an acre of land to realize their shared dreams. Joseph continued to collaborate with television networks remotely. Meanwhile, Christy devoted herself to developing her personal blog focused on nutrition and a healthy lifestyle. They appeared to be the perfect couple, their relationship defined by love and harmony. In the summer of 2014, the lovebirds made a momentous decision to solidify their bond. Their lavish wedding in August was a grand affair, bringing together several hundred guests, including relatives, friends, colleagues, neighbors, and even some devoted fans who celebrated the couple's union. They radiated happiness, bursting with dreams and plans for their future. Just 3 months after exchanging vows, the newlyweds received the exhilarating news that they were expecting their first child. Joy enveloped them as the new year approached, following a routine ultrasound that confirmed their blissful anticipation. The doctor's words revealed they were going to welcome a daughter into their lives. A few days later, during a heartfelt phone call with her mother, Christy shared their beautiful decision to name their little girl Skylar. Everything seemed perfect, and Christy's pregnancy was progressing without a hitch. However, this radiant happiness was destined to be tragically fleeting. The Codd's mysterious disappearance unfolded while Christy was 5 months pregnant, actively preparing for the arrival of their baby. Daily, she connected with her parents, who lived in another state, providing updates and sharing joyous news. But on March 13, 2015, a sense of unease began to creep in when Christy's mother could not reach her daughter. Initially dismissing it as a simple oversight, she attempted again the following day, only to be met with silence. Christy's husband, Joseph, also remained unresponsive. By March 15th, the situation escalated alarmingly. Both Christy's and Joseph's phones were powered off, triggering a wave of concern. With their parents residing far away, immediate checks on their home were impossible, prompting Christy's mother to contact Cecily, a close friend of Christy's. Cecily, who lived nearby, was asked to visit the Codd residence to check on them. Upon arriving, she noted both of their personal vehicles parked outside, but the front door remained locked, with no response to her persistent knocks and shouts. The couple's phones had been silent for 3 long days, raising alarm bells. Peering through a window, Cecily noticed that their beloved dogs, whom they adored, were shut away in a room, a sight that felt inherently wrong. Determined to uncover the truth, Cecily circled the house and discovered that the back door had been forcefully broken, a clear sign that someone had intruded. Without hesitation, she called Christy's mother, who quickly contacted the police. When officers arrived, they confirmed the forced entry through the back door and found the interior in disarray, suggesting that someone had rifled through the home in search of something. According to family reports, several valuables were missing, including a jewelry box belonging to Christy and a safe from their bedroom that had been compromised. Strikingly, there were no signs of blood or a struggle to indicate violence. No evidence suggested that Christy and Joseph had been forcibly taken or held against their will. The intruder had acted with unsettling caution, leaving no fingerprints or DNA traces behind. Their loved ones clung to a desperate hope that Joseph, at 45 years old, and Christy, 38 and pregnant, were still alive. Yet, seasoned officers were not optimistic about the couple's fate. In those haunting initial days, the investigation stagnated, with no clues or significant leads emerging to guide them toward the truth. Although hope flickered that the victims might still be alive, seasoned investigators remained grimly aware of the reality. In the early days of the investigation, progress was agonizingly slow. No significant leads or clues surfaced to guide them in their search for the truth. The couple, Christy Shawn and Joseph Cadd, seemingly had no enemies. Their quiet lives made reconstructing their final hours a formidable challenge. Their phones sat unused at home, the last activity recorded on March 12th. The following day, only incoming calls registered, after which the devices went silent, vanishing along with their owners. In an effort to uncover the truth, police canvassed the neighborhood, seeking any unusual observations from those who lived nearby. It was during these inquiries that an intriguing detail surfaced. A neighbor across the street reported seeing another resident behaving oddly. On the morning of March 15th, this neighbor witnessed a local man disposing of a large bundle into a trash bin near the Cadd's residence. Initially dismissing the act, the neighbor later recognized its potential significance upon hearing of Christy and Joseph's disappearance. Unfortunately, by the time police sought to investigate the contents of the trash bin, it had already been emptied into the local dump. Now, any evidence that could have been collected was buried among the refuse. But first, officers aimed to question the individual responsible for discarding the suspicious bundle. This individual was identified as Robert Jason Owens, a 36-year-old handyman who lived on the same street as Christy and Joseph. He was well known to the couple, considered a close family friend who had even helped them settle into their new home. Robert had formed a bond with Christy and Joseph, so much so that they invited him to their wedding. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly innocent friendship lay whispers from other locals who described Owens as peculiar and unpredictable. On March 16th, the atmosphere shifted dramatically as Robert was summoned to the police station for questioning. When faced with inquiries about the couple's disappearance, he vehemently denied any involvement and feigned ignorance regarding the discarded bundle. With little evidence to hold him, initial suspicions lingered based solely on a neighbor's unverified claims. However, as the day wore on, the investigation took a dark turn. That evening, the very same large bundle was recovered from the landfill. Inside, authorities found items belonging to the missing couple, including clothing that bore Robert's fingerprints and DNA. Among the harrowing discoveries were partially burned garments, a blanket, and a throw from their home, all stained with blood. This evidence shattered any remaining illusions of Christy and Joseph's safety, confirming police fears that they were no longer alive. The investigation deepened when detectives searched Robert's home, unearthing charred human skeletal remains within his wood stove. With this gruesome evidence in hand, Robert was brought in as a prime suspect in the brutal slayings of his neighbors and their unborn child. Despite his persistent denials and conflicting statements, the pressure of interrogation wore him down, leading to an unexpected confession. In a chilling admission, Robert claimed the tragic events were accidental. He recounted that on the evening of March 12th, he had visited his friends but swerved off the road to avoid hitting a dog, ultimately getting stuck in the mud. Seeking assistance, he walked to the Cadd's home, where the kind couple agreed to help him extract his vehicle. Yet, in a moment of panic while behind the wheel, Robert claimed he confused the gas and brake pedals, tragically striking and killing both Christy and Joseph. Overcome with fear, Robert believed he would be accused of murder. Instead of contacting the authorities, he opted for a cover-up, returning to the scene to conceal what he had done. In a chilling act of desperation, Robert Jason Owens broke into the back door of his friend's home. Uncertain of their fate, he took blankets from the bedroom, using them to wrap the bodies he believed might still be alive. He placed them in the bed of his pickup truck, driving them to his own home, where a horrifying transformation awaited. What transpired next was a gruesome scene straight from a nightmare. In the confines of his own bathroom, Robert dismembered his friends' bodies with a saw and a small axe. The sound of the tools echoed ominously, while he ignited his stove, methodically throwing pieces of his friends into the flames, hoping they would be consumed entirely. In a bizarre twist, Robert chose not to burn the blood-soaked clothing, blankets, and footwear of the deceased. Instead, he packed them into a trash bag, disposing of them in a dumpster, convinced that once the trash reached the landfill, no one would ever uncover the truth. With chilling self-preservation, Robert concocted a story of a staged burglary. In a calculated move, he had robbed his friend's home himself, stealing money and valuables which he pawed off the very next day, believing he could erase his heinous crime from existence. The brutality with which Robert disposed of his friends' bodies, coupled with the eerie calmness in his recounting of events, left even the most seasoned police officers in disbelief. When investigators combed through his home, they uncovered a saw and an axe, both stained with blood, remnants of a gruesome act. Among the horrors, they also found skin and bone fragments belonging to the deceased. Robert had shown no effort to clean the tools or conceal his actions, operating under the misguided belief that the investigation would not trace back to him, as he had left no evidence at the victim's house. Forensic analysis unveiled the chilling truth. The bone fragments found in Robert's stove were confirmed to belong to the missing couple. This revelation prompted law enforcement to dig deeper into Robert's past, discovering a man who was unmarried, had no children, and had minimal contact with his family. Robert had once lived in Asheville, North Carolina, before purchasing land in Leicester in 2000, where he built a house. A closer examination of his history revealed a connection to an unresolved crime from 15 years earlier in Asheville, a dark cloud lingering over his past. In 2000, Robert's close friend, Zeb Wayne Quinn, then just 18 years old, mysteriously vanished. Robert and Zeb had been friends since their school days, their lives intertwined in a bond of proximity and familiarity that would soon turn sinister. At the time of his disappearance, Zeb was juggling military training and a part-time job at Walmart. On January 2, 2000, after finishing his shift, he met with Robert, with plans to drive to Leicester to buy a new car. But Zeb never returned home. Days later, his Mazda protege was discovered parked in a different part of town, its headlights still on. Inside, a heart drawn with red lipstick adorned the window. The car bore signs of damage and scratches, while the owner remained missing, a haunting mystery deepening. Traces of paint from another vehicle were found on the car, leading investigators to the last person known to have seen Zeb, Robert. His own car bore damage as well, and the scratches matched paint particles from Zeb's vehicle, a connection that could not be ignored. Under scrutiny, Robert spun a peculiar tale. He claimed that shortly after starting their journey to Leicester, Zeb had asked him to stop, stating he needed to use a payphone urgently after receiving a message on his pager. Zeb drove off to the nearest gas station but returned just 10 minutes later, looking frantic. He insisted their plans had changed, then drove off in an unknown direction, colliding with Robert's car in the process, a chaotic turn in an already troubling story. Further investigation revealed that Zeb was romantically involved with a woman named Misty Taylor. Tensions ran high as Misty's former boyfriend, Wesley Smith, had threatened Zeb to stop seeing her. This tangled web of relationships drew Misty, Smith, and Robert into the chilling narrative surrounding Zeb's disappearance. Despite the mounting suspicions, a lack of evidence resulted in the release of all three suspects. Misty Taylor and Wesley Smith had solid alibis, but Robert Jason Owens found himself in a precarious position, holding a significant amount of money that raised eyebrows. Zeb Quinn had intended to use that money to purchase a car. However, in a baffling turn of events, his pager vanished from his vehicle, leaving investigators to ponder whether he had received any crucial messages at all. The investigation leaned toward the unsettling theory that no message existed. Adding to the strangeness of the case, a man called Walmart the day after Zeb's disappearance. He claimed to be Zeb, stating that he would be absent from work for the next few days due to illness. However, the colleague who answered the call found the voice unsettlingly unfamiliar. It didn't sound like Zeb at all. Tracing the call led investigators to the Volvo plant where Robert worked. Under questioning, Owens claimed he made the call at a friend's request, mere hours before Zeb sped away. Despite this unexpected twist, no new evidence or witnesses emerged, and the case remained unsolved. Zeb Quinn was officially listed as missing. However, 15 years later, the shadows of the past loomed large. In June 2015, Owens found himself under scrutiny once more, suspected of a deeper involvement in his longtime friend's disappearance. The case of Zeb Quinn was reopened, shaking loose unexpected details from the archives. Initially, it appeared that law enforcement would struggle to extract any new information. Robert recounted the same story he had shared back in 2000, asserting he had nothing new to contribute. Nevertheless, police decided to conduct a more thorough search of Owens's property. What they stumbled upon was nothing short of astonishing: a strange cavity hidden within a detached concrete slab at his home. Inside this dark recess, small, heavily charred human bone fragments lay. Unfortunately, the remains were too damaged for DNA analysis, rendering it impossible to definitively determine if they belonged to the missing Zeb Quinn. A neighbor's recollections added another layer of intrigue. An elderly man living nearby recalled an evening in January 2000, shortly after Owens purchased the land. He remembered a fire burning that emitted a sickly, nauseating smell, prompting him to confront Owens, as the wind carried the stench directly to him. What struck the neighbor as strange was that shortly after that unsettling fire, the pit was covered with concrete, a highly unusual act. Robert had claimed he intended to build a small fountain there, a promise he never fulfilled. The neighbor had long since forgotten about the stench until the police arrived at Owens's property, reigniting memories of that foul-smelling fire. Ultimately, Owens confessed to his involvement in a darker crime. In a shocking turn, he revealed an entirely new story. According to him, Zeb had been killed by his own uncle, Walter Owens, who was allegedly hired by Wesley Smith to eliminate Misty Taylor's new boyfriend, whom he still loved. Robert claimed ignorance at the time. His uncle had supposedly asked him to lure Zeb to a secluded area. Once they found themselves in the woods along the road to Leicester, Walter ordered them to stop the car and signaled for Quinn to do the same. Once outside, Walter shot him without hesitation. In the aftermath, Walter directed his nephew to assist in dismembering and packaging the body, which was set ablaze on Robert's property that very night and encased in concrete. Interrogating Walter Owens about these claims was no longer an option. Years had passed since the death of Robert Jason Owens' uncle, yet the echoes of a horrific confession reverberated through the courtroom. No evidence was found at the alleged crime scene, and the narrative presented by Owens was riddled with inconsistencies. Legal proceedings began, with Owens initially facing grave charges, including first-degree double murder. He stood accused not only of the brutal murder of Christy Shawn and Joseph Cadd, but also the tragic killing of their unborn daughter, Skylar. The charges extended to dismemberment, concealment of evidence, burglary, and robbery. Each of these allegations carried the weight of the death penalty, hovering ominously over his fate. However, as the defense unfolded, it became clear that Owens had long battled depression and mental disorders, heavily medicated at the time of the crimes. His attorney seized upon this vulnerability, constructing a defense that could potentially declare him insane, undermining the prosecution's case. This outcome stirred discontent among the victims' families and the prosecution, who felt justice remained elusive. Meanwhile, the investigation into the earlier murder of Zeb Wayne Quinn began, raising concerns that Owens might evade accountability once again. In 2017, a plea deal emerged, with Owens admitting guilt in the murders of Christy Shawn and Joseph Cadd. In exchange, the looming specter of the death penalty was lifted from the table. He was subsequently convicted of second-degree manslaughter, dismemberment and incineration of bodies, burglary, and robbery. In total, he was sentenced to 59 years in prison. Yet the saga did not end there. In 2022, a new plea deal regarding Quinn's murder was brokered, wherein Owens confessed to being complicit in the murder and aiding in the concealment of evidence, resulting in an additional 12 years tacked onto his already considerable sentence. After the sentencing, in a moment that stunned the courtroom, Owens addressed the victims' families, seeking forgiveness for his heinous acts. He reiterated his claim of innocence, portraying the events as tragic accidents influenced by his mental disorder and the debilitating effects of medication. Yet the families of Christy Shawn and Joseph Cadd, along with the relatives of Zeb Wayne Quinn, remained unconvinced. They rejected the notion of unintentional murder, convinced that Owens had acted with deliberate malice, driven by selfish motivations. The scars of this tragedy run deep, leaving behind a lingering sense of injustice and sorrow, as the families struggled to reconcile their loss with a system that seemed to falter in delivering true accountability. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more shocking stories that delve into the darker corners of humanity.